Today, with the embargo over on the Nintendo Switch console, interesting reports came out on Twitter from Games Press that received early units. Initially, it was thought that left Joy-Con controllers were losing sync with the main unit when being used in tabletop and TV modes. Thanks to the guys at GameXplain, however, it was proven that both Joy-Con controllers are susceptible to cutting out when obscured by the body at only a 10-foot distance. If you cup the controller in your hand in a way that obscures the Bluetooth radio, you might find yourself losing fidelity and dropping commands. The same thing occurs when holding the unit behind your back, kind of using your body as a wall. Naturally, the Nintendo Switch subreddit is losing its shit, and many people are throwing the phrase Joy-Con gate around to label the controversy. Personally, I feel a bit uneasy because I was very much looking forward to playing Zelda with a Joy-Con grip attachment almost exclusively. Now that I know these pint-sized controllers can't handle much interference at a distance, I'm thinking it might be smarter to invest in a Switch Pro controller. My only point of hesitancy is that I really didn't like the Wii U Pro controller at all. So here's the second part of the video I wanted to make today. I already discussed the kind of Joy controversy, if you will, regarding the upcoming Nintendo Switch and some early reports from people that the Joy-Cons are experiencing some issues. I also wanted to kind of go over my dissatisfaction with the original Wii U Pro controller and touch on my hopes for how the new Switch Pro controller will be. Hopefully it's better, only time will tell. I mean, we're only a week away from launch, so it's not that long, but regardless, I wanted to go over a few things. So first I wanted to kind of discuss controllers I do like. The controller I do like is, my favorite controller is the DualShock 4, seen here. This is the slight revision that was made near the release of the Pro and the Slim PS4s. There's minor differences. The face buttons are a little bit bigger, as are the options and share buttons. Also, the plastic on the analog sticks is now a gray versus a black. Most people will know the differences. They're pretty minor. There's also a light bar across the touchpad now that you can only see when it's on. But yeah, those are overall the differences. It's definitely my favorite controller. I've always been more of a Sony guy when it comes to consoles, so I've always felt more comfortable with the DualShock format with the symmetrical sticks on the lower part of the controller, and so my bias is definitely seeping through in that regard. It's just overall a really good controller. I like the kind of more neutral angle of the grips. These grips kind of just let your hands hold the controller comfortably in a variety of fashions. No matter where you have to put your thumbs, there's kind of comfortable places to keep them. The touchpad is nice, although not super practical for most applications. But so basically, when you're holding the controller, your thumbs naturally rest on the directional pad, which is an excellent D-pad, and the face buttons. So, you know, pretty, like, not useful for a lot of games that require 3D action or movement. Obviously, a lot of games are using dual analogs and triggers, but because these grips, like I said before, are kind of a neutral angle, you don't have to worry about your hands getting like kind of forced into a certain kind of natural resting position. You're kind of welcome to put your thumbs and fingers wherever you like. And I don't know if you can tell from this angle, but when you put your thumbs on the sticks, there's a big amount of space between your hand and the controller to give a kind of airflow and breathing room, and that always keeps my hands from getting sweaty. So definitely kudos to this. DualShock 4, love it. The only complaint is the battery life, because the LED bar and the audio streaming, you know, it's kind of inefficient. This is the controller everyone knows and loves. It's the Xbox One controller. It's a very good controller. I think a very safe controller. Microsoft really refined the design to get a lot of good stuff out of this controller. Obviously, everyone loves it. It's got, of course, the concave sticks that Sony kind of copied on the DualShock 4. It's got these glossy buttons that are kind of spongy, but like not, you know, too spongy to have a good responsive feel. The triggers are analog and it's, you know, quality. It's a good controller. I like how it's a little more aggressive angle. So when you're holding it, your hands are kind of more forming an inward shape, which means that it's a little bit more like the DualShock 4. It's easy to put your fingers wherever you need them to be for the game. It's just a very natural feeling controller. And then it's got these clicky bumpers, unlike the DualShock, which has more, I would say, squishy L1 and R1 buttons. And then here's the subject of my despise or my distaste. I really don't like the Wii U Pro controller at all. To me, this is a complete waste of $50. The only thing I like about it is that it has a really long battery life and charges via very commonly available micro USB instead of mini USB or requiring AA batteries. One thing I don't like about it is, although it has a more neutral hand angle like the DualShock 4, you know, your hands aren't really angled in like they are with the Xbox One pad. The grips are a wedge shape like the Xbox One pad, which doesn't give your hand a lot of freedom of movement. You know, when you're holding it, your hands are kind of funneled into a certain kind of grip where your hands or your thumbs naturally rest on these top analog sticks, which is great except for the fact that Nintendo rarely pushes first-person shooters. So I don't really understand why they want your hands to naturally rest on these analog sticks, which are convex, by the way. So they're, you know, your thumbs don't really feel like they're going to slip off ever, but they are convex, which is kind of another strike against it. It's not really the status quo. Also, the buttons are very weird and spongy. They're not like any other buttons on any other modern controller. It's kind of weird. They're kind of like a bigger, worse version of a 3DS XL button, and I'm not a huge fan. Also, no analog triggers. They're digital triggers, which is not great for driving games. But yeah, my biggest complaint is that when I'm trying to play a game like New Super Mario Bros. U or Shovel Knight, my thumbs naturally rest on the sticks, so I'm having to reach really far down, it feels, to get to the D-pad and the action buttons. Especially the Y button feels like quite the travel. You know, I feel like I'm reaching as far to hit the Y button on the Nintendo Wii U Pro controller as I have to reach when I'm using a DualShock and I'm hitting options. And options is a button you rarely hit, and Y is a button you frequently hit, but both of them feel like a stretch. So the Wii U Pro controller is probably my least favorite modern controller. And even though I probably have the least playtime with it, it's not, that doesn't, you know, I used it less because I liked it less. The Wii U gamepad is a very comfortable controller, and that's why I use it. So anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day. Oops, I almost forgot to discuss my initial thoughts on the Switch Pro controller too. So first of all, without actively holding it in my hands, it's impossible for me to give an honest opinion. Obviously, ergonomics are a very subjective topic because everyone's hands are different. I don't expect everyone to agree with my thoughts on the Wii U Pro pad either, for instance. That said, I think it's perfectly fair for me to speculate on how the Switch Pro pad will feel based on how it looks. My knee-jerk reaction, of course, is that it's good to see Nintendo switch things up for the new generation. They still have their classic D-pad and button layout, but we can now expect an asymmetrical stick layout and long hand grips instead of those restrictive wedges present on the Wii U Pro pad. We also know that the triggers are all digital again, which is a bummer for anyone who wanted GameCube Virtual Console support. My only real concern is that the face buttons look kinda oversized and chunky. You can't really tell from just the picture, but early reports and impressions describe these buttons as downright mushy. And with Joy-Cons cutting signal, this will have to do. My only hope is that Nintendo can boost the radio signal strength via a firmware update. I'd happily give up a few hours of battery life on the Joy-Con if it meant I could use it from a normal sitting distance without worrying about adjusting my grip. Alright, rant over. Thanks for watching everyone, have a great day.